announcements are joining.
We can start, right? So Sweta will join soon. He just came off.
Yeah, can we start then? Yeah. Okay, Therwan Sarana everyone. Hope everyone's had a good Monday. And yeah, like always, we have Sunandananda Swaminatha joining us again today. And Susamahita Thero Swaminatha probably is busy in Sri Lanka, so probably won't be joining us. And so the sutra that we were discussing for the last couple of months, it's the Samanyapala Sutra. It's the second sutra in the Digha Nikaya. And this is our third day, and I think we can finish it today. And I think we're getting to the fruits of that, the essence of the sutra. But if we have a small recap of what we've discussed so far. So on the first day we discussed mainly about the qualities of the Buddha, right? So if you remember, the Arahan, Samma Sambuddha, Vijjacharana Sampanna, Sugata, Lokavidu, Anuttaro Purisa Dhammasarathi, Satta Deva Manussanam, Buddha, Bhagava, right? So if you remember what each of these mean, Arahan means fully enlightened, or there's no need to do anything bad for an enlightened person because there's no ego there. And the Samma Sambuddha means enlightened without a teacher, right? And then Vijjacharana Sampanna means he had special skills that he mastered, and they can only be mastered by a Buddha. Or in other words, is accomplished in knowledge and conduct as well. And then Sugata is full of perfected qualities that doesn't harm anyone, doesn't harm himself. Lokavidu means knower of the world, or has realized the true nature of the mind and the body. Anuttaro Purisa Dhammasarathi means he's unsurpassed trainer of men who needs to be tamed, right? So people who were followers or who become students or disciples of the Buddha were not necessarily good people, right? Some were murderers, some were the bad people, right? Liars, etc. But after having discussions with the Buddha, after having arguments with the Buddha, they end up becoming a student of the Buddha. That's why we say Purisa Dhammasarathi. And then Satta Deva Manussanam means he's a teacher for gods and men and humans. And Buddha, again, if we remember, Samma Sambuddha means enlightening without a teacher. Buddha here means he is able to enlighten others. And that's a skill that a Buddha has, and a Pacceka Buddhahood does not have that quality. A Bhagava, last one, means worthy of paying respect, or is blessed. So that's the qualities of, those are the 9 qualities of the Buddha. And what happens is, in this sutta, the king Ajasatta goes to meet the Buddha. And when he goes to meet the Buddha, he was initially scared because he was very quiet in the place where Buddha was staying. And he initially thought that the doctor was taking Dr. Jivaka. He's going to take the king and trying to murder him. But he finds out later that that's the Buddha, and it's very quiet in where the Buddha is living. And when he meets the Buddha, he says how he wishes that his son is also as peaceful as these monks that are there. And Buddha hints to the king at that moment how he's being a slave to his mind, how he was carried away by his mind, by the attachments that he has. And that's the initial conversation that they have. So then afterwards, king asks the Buddha if he can ask a question. And Buddha says, you can ask if you wish. And then the question that king asks is, can you show me results of a monastic life, the results that you can see in this life itself, of the monastic life. And Buddha, rather than giving an answer straight away, he then asks the king, have you asked this from anyone else? And this is what we discussed last time about the 6 different philosophies that were there in India at the time. And there were 6 main philosophers who lived in India, and each of them had their own philosophy. So the first one that the king went and asked this question from was Purana Kassapa, and he gives the philosophy of what we call Akiriyavada, which means he rejects the idea that there are consequences for the things that we do. So his philosophy was that there's no consequences, you can do whatever you want. And so that means, in other words, there's no consequences, meaning you can do good things or bad things, but there's no meaning at the end. So this is why this is wrong, right? We call this Akiriyavada. The second philosopher that the king went to was Makkali Gosala. Makkali Gosala, his philosophy was what we call Ahetuka Apachavada, which means things happen automatically. There's no reason for things, right? So for example, if a person is angry, he says there's no cause for it. And if there's no cause, there's nothing you can do about it. Right, so that's his philosophy. And if you think about a lot of monotheistic religions, this is actually very similar to a lot of monotheistic religions, right? So let's say if I'm a person who gets angry a lot, right, and I say that it's because God made me that way, or God gave me this personality, then there's nothing that I can do about it, right? I can blame it on God. But Buddha says you can't blame it on anyone else. It's your fault. You have to do something about it, and you can do something about it. That's why we have this philosophy, right? That's why we have the Dhamma. And through mindfulness we can do something about it, right? Rather than blaming it on someone else, or rather than thinking that things happen automatically. So that's the philosophy of Makkali Gosal. He says that there's no cause for things. Everything happens automatically. And then the third one is Ajita Kesa Kambali, which he was a materialist, right? He doesn't believe in a mind. He thinks everything's made out of the elements, and that's all. The fourth philosopher that the king went to was Pagoda Kachayana, and his one is also materialistic, but he is slightly different. He says there's 4 elements or 6 elements, I think, and that's all there is, and those things are there forever, and there are no people, right? There's no person as such. There's elements, there's no person. So he says you can kill someone and it's just these elements crossing other elements, and there's no death happening. So this is also another philosophy or wrong philosophy that was there at the time. And then the fifth one was Nigantanatha Putta's philosophy, which we call Pubbekata Hetuvada, meaning everything happens because of the past things that we've done. So he was also a materialist, meaning he always puts the body first, not the mind. And with their philosophy, they train their body, right? Because they believe that body comes first. The Buddha's philosophy, the mind comes first. So this is where this Nigantanatha Buddha's philosophy and Buddha's philosophy differentiate or is different, is when Buddha says it's the mind that you have to train, whereas Niganta says it's the body that you have to train. That's the fifth philosopher. And then the sixth one was Sanjay Bellattaputta. Sanjay Bellattaputta's philosophy was, he doesn't have a philosophy, he just agree to disagree to whatever the person is saying, and he just confuses people. So these philosophers, the king says, when he went and asked them to show the king results of the monastic life, they gave him a different answer. They didn't directly answer the king's question. And the king says it's like asking them about jackfruit, and they're asking them about mangoes, and they're replying about jackfruit, right? It doesn't make sense. You're asking one thing and they're answering something else. So the king, in other words, wasn't satisfied with these philosophers and the answers that they gave. So what he wanted was to really have an answer to this question: why are there people living a monastic life and not helping the economy? right? That's the king's perspective here, and the king really wants to know why people ordain and what's the point of it. So then Buddha goes on to explain the fruits of the monastic life, right? So the first two are very similar. Buddha says, imagine if a person who is working for you, so he says to the king, imagine if a person who is working for you goes and ordains, right? He sees the benefit of ordaining and he goes and ordains. And straight away, Buddha says he becomes free from having to work, right? This results in him being content with simpler things in life, right? The things that they have, they are content with. People work because they need to earn something more, right? They need something to live with. They need an income. Whereas when this person is ordained, he doesn't have to work anymore, and as a result, he's satisfied with the things that he has. And then the Buddha asks the king, if someone else who is working for you comes and tells to the king that this slave or this person who was working for you has now ordained, would you ask him to come back and work for him again? Right? So this other person tells the king that this person who was working for the king, he has now ordained, and Buddha asks the king, would you ask this person who has ordained to come back and work for him? And the king straight away says, no, I wouldn't do that. I would in fact invite him and give him a chair or give him food, ask him what he needs, and offer him whatever he needs. And then Buddha questions the king, isn't this one of the benefits of being a monk? Don't you see this as a benefit of being a monk that you can see in this life itself? And the king straight away says and agrees that this is a benefit, right? This is the delight of being in solitude, right? When you are a monk, people respect you. You don't have to work. And Buddha says this is the benefit that you can see in this life itself. And this is also the second quality. Buddha says, imagine if it's not a person who is working for you, someone in your kingdom, a citizen of your kingdom, goes and works or goes and ordains, and then would you still ask him to come back and do the work that he was doing? And the king says, no, I would still invite them and offer them whatever they need. So these are the first two things that Buddha says is a result of the monastic life that you can see in this life itself. And the king, as I mentioned last time, right, he's under a lot of regret and he has a burden of killing his father. So the king wants to know something more, right? He's not satisfied fully with the first two answers that the Buddha gave, which were more materialistic based. So the king wants to know if there's more to being in the monastic, having or living a monastic life. So Buddha goes deeper, and from here it's mostly spiritual results of being a monk. So Buddha says, a person listens to a Buddha or a disciple and hears the Dhamma, and Buddha explains some of the qualities of the Dhamma. Buddha says, Adi Kalyanang, Majje Kalyanang, Paryosana Kalyanang, Sattang Savyanjanang, Kevala Paripunnam, Brahmacharim Pakaseti. Which means Adi Kalyanang, Majje Kalyanang, Paryosana Kalyanang, meaning the Dhamma, the teachings of the Buddha is good in the beginning, good in the middle, and also good in the end. It benefits you. It benefits anyone who practices. It doesn't matter if it's in the beginning, the middle, or the end. It's benefiting them. And Sattang means it's meaningful in phrasing as well. Kevala Paripunnang is meaning complete, right? There's no contradictions, there's no missing parts, it's complete. And Brahmacharim Pakaseti means it's a path towards enlightenment, right? It's pointing towards enlightenment, towards purification of a person. So a person hears the Dhamma which has these qualities. Buddha says he develops faith and then thinks to himself that the household life, even though they can practice this in their lay life as a lay person, it's like a dusty path, right? So Buddha says, in other words, it's slower. A monastic life, on the other hand, is like open air. It's very clear. So although there's the path is there for both parties, right, lay people and the monastics, the path for the lay people is slower because it's dusty. There's a lot more distractions. There's things to worry about and think about. Whereas as a monastic, you don't have these distractions as much. So this person then sees this difference and goes and ordains. And now he has a set of rules that he has to follow. Right? So this is the third benefit that Buddha is going to explain, right? So this person hears the Dhamma, he goes and ordains, sees the distractions in the lay life and goes and ordains. And now he has the rules that he has to follow, or the virtue that he has to protect. So Buddha then says, when this person becomes virtuous, it's like, Buddha gives a simile, it's like a king who has defeated all his enemies and has no enemies anymore, and sees no danger anymore. Like that, a monk who is virtuous has no danger anywhere, right? And because he is restrained from this, he's restrained through virtue, and because of this, he's inwardly sensitive to the pleasure of being blameless. Buddha says this is the third benefit of being a monk. So in other words, to explain this, or in a way that you can understand it, let's say if a person is not virtuous, doesn't matter if it's a monastic or not, right? If a person is not virtuous, they are living in fear. Okay, for example, let's say a person goes on the train or a bus and he doesn't tap on the my key. When he's going on the train or the bus, they have that fear, right? Is a inspector going to get on the train, right? Until he gets off, he has that fear. So it's a burden that he has of not being virtuous. A person who has tapped on before he got on the train or the bus, he doesn't have that burden. He might have other distractions and other burdens, but he doesn't have that particular burden. So Buddha says similarly, a monk who is virtuous, he has no danger. He doesn't have any burdens like that. It's like a king who sees no danger. So in other words, they are free from that psychological burden that of not being virtuous. So Buddha says this is the third benefit of being a monastic, that they end up becoming virtuous, and as a result of becoming virtuous, they have the benefit of being satisfied because they are virtuous. Then the fourth one, and the king agrees to this. He says that is a benefit of benefit that you can see in this life itself. And then the fourth one, Buddha says, this virtuous person, then they have to restrain their senses to an extent. So, for example, let's say, before I became a monk, whenever I drove my car or rode my bike, whenever I go past a petrol station, especially after COVID, I would always check the prices on the petrol stations because they were skyrocketing, right? So I was always checking if there's a cheaper place to get petrol. So as a monk, even though we go in cars, even though we go past petrol stations, even though I check the price, it doesn't mean anything to me, right? Even if I go to a shopping center and then I see all these watches, there's Omega, Citizen, right, whatever, I can't buy it, right? No matter how much I like it, it doesn't have a meaning to me. I don't need a watch. So, but as a layperson, whenever I go shopping, I would check, it's called window shopping, right? You go window shopping. But now, even though I go to a shopping center, there's no need for that. So, as a monk, that is another benefit, right? So, Buddha explains this deeper in this sutta actually, where Buddha says, when a person sees something through their senses, as a monk, he's virtuous now, and he sees something through their senses, they don't take it in anymore. They don't need to take it in anymore. But as a layperson, you have responsibilities, you have things that you have to think about and do at work and stuff, and so you have to take things in. You have to take that responsibility. But as monks, we don't have that. So when something comes through our senses, Buddha says there's no need to grasp it anymore. They don't grasp it. And what happens when you take something in, on the other hand, is you then classify it, right? Remember, good and bad. And when you have something classifying as good, you have greed. If you classify something as bad, you have aversion, right? You're rejecting it. And both of these are types of attachments that people have. And it's the same with all our senses. So Buddha says a person who has ordained, they have this pleasure of sensory restraints. They don't have to worry about these things. Then the fifth one, Buddha says, is this person then can develop mindfulness. So when their mind is not looking or searching for things to please their senses, they can practice mindfulness. And Buddha says this monk has the opportunity to be mindful throughout the day, because the work that they do are very minimal, right? There's not much work a monk has to do, just the bare minimum that they have to do. And it's easier to be mindful throughout the day because of this, right? So Buddha says they are mindful while walking, while sitting, while standing, while lying down, while stretching limbs, while wearing their robes, eating, drinking, right? Buddha even says even in the toilet they can be mindful. And so if you think about why this might be a benefit, or why Buddha considers this to be a benefit, is when a person is mindful, they know what they're doing, they're observing what is happening, right? Whereas when they are not mindful, when a person is not mindful, they're living in an illusion. They're engaged with the mind, or they're engaged in the emotions and the thoughts that come to the mind. They're not in the present. They're living with what their mind is showing them, right? Whereas when a person is mindful, that person is not engaging with these things. He's actually disengaging, and he's separating himself from these things. And he's able to observe how the mind is persuading this person to do things. So this is why mindfulness becomes a benefit, and it brings their mind to the present moment. And other times, let's say you're at work, for example, right? You're thinking about stuff that is happening at home or somewhere else. When you're at home, you're thinking about something else that is happening somewhere else. Whereas when you're mindful, you have that moment and that moment only. You have nothing else. So the Buddha says this is the fifth benefit of monastic life that you can see in this life itself. The sixth one is simplicity, right? Contentment from simplicity. So Buddha says a monk is content with the robes that is needed to protect his body, alms food for hunger, and then a place to stay, and also medication. Those are the 4 bare necessities that any human being needs in their life. And a monk is satisfied with these 4 things, right? And Buddha uses this simile, right? Just like a bird who has its own wings as its only burden when it's flying, the weight of its own wings. Like that, a monk, the burdens that a monk has is those 4 things, right? And I'll give this anecdote that some experience that I had in my early years as a monk. I went to pick up a monk from the airport, and I think it's the first time that he's coming overseas. And he came, and I went to pick him up, and I saw him coming out of the arrivals gate, and he only had his bowl with him. And then I asked him, straight away my thoughts were that he had forgotten his luggage, or he's lost it, he didn't know how to pick it up or anything. So I ran to him and I was like, "Brother, where's your luggage? Did you forget to take your luggage?" And then he said, no, this is all. And then I wasn't convinced. I thought he forgot, maybe. I was like, "Didn't you carry a bag to the plane? Did you leave it in the plane or something?" And it's like, no, this is all. And then I asked him again. I asked him 3 times. I asked him, didn't you have a bag that you brought with you? And he's like, no, this is all that I have. And then that's when it actually occurred to me, okay, this is all we need. right? Because back when I was a layperson, we had all this luggage, right? And I moved houses once. I'm sure you have experience of it these days, right? How many times you have to go back and forth moving all this stuff that you probably don't even need. So as a monk, we have these bare necessities, and that's all we have. And Buddha says this is a benefit that you have as a monk, that you have this, you live a simple life, right? And even these 4 things, you don't have to earn it. People give it to you, right? So you don't have to think about them. So let's say, you know, if you think about, okay, I'm going to go eat at a restaurant with my partner or with my family, you have to think, okay, where am I going to go? What should we eat? Which restaurant shall we go today? You have to think about all these things. But as a monk, people bring dana and we have to eat what they bring, right? I don't get to choose. So this is another benefit Buddha says as a monk. You have to be satisfied with these simple things that you have. And we are satisfied with these simple things that we have. So that's the 6th benefit that Buddha says is a benefit that you can see in this life itself. You are content with the bare minimum. And the 7th one is, so this person who has followed so far, right? So if you remember, Buddha started with something very simple, right? You get people respect you. You don't have to work anymore. And from there on, Buddha has now explained this virtue, the sila, and now some of the more content, things that a monk can be content about. And now Buddha then explains a bit more deeper. Buddha says this monk who has practiced this mindfulness and things like that, they become free from those 5 hindrances, right? So after ordaining, after being virtuous, after practicing mindfulness, this person becomes free from these 5 hindrances, which are kamacchanda, vyapada, tīna middha, uddhacca, kukkucca, vitikicca. Kamacchanda means craving for or trying to please his senses, right? That's that one. Vyapada is anger. Tīna middha is laziness, slothness. Vyapada, tīna middha, uddhacca, kukkucca. Uddhacca means restlessness. Your mind is always running. Uddhacca, kukkucca means regret. And then vitikicca means doubt. So these 5 things Buddha says are hindrances, or they're 5 things that cover enlightenment. So if a person, let's say he's done something bad in the past and they are regretting over it, regretting their mind, they can't be enlightened at that moment until they get over that regret. Same with the person who has a lot of anger. A person who is angry a lot, they can't be enlightened at that moment. Same with the person who is lazy, right? Someone who sleeps all day, they can't be enlightened because their mind is not active. The defilements don't come up, right? We need defilements in order to be enlightened, right? If the defilements are hidden and they're not showing up, then they can't practice vipassana. They can't practice mindfulness. They don't need to practice mindfulness because they don't have any stress or anything. They're all hidden. So these 5 hindrances, and same with doubt, right? Doubt can be explained in a lot of ways. Easiest way to understand this is doubt in enlightenment, right? A person who has doubt or who doesn't believe in enlightenment, or doesn't believe that a person can be enlightened, as long as they have that doubt, they can't also be enlightened. So these are the 5 hindrances, and Buddha says when a person is virtuous and they're practicing these things that Buddha mentions earlier, they become free from these 5 hindrances. And Buddha then says this is also a benefit of being a monastic. And there's also a sutta, I can't remember the name of the sutta, but I read it a long time ago, probably in the Samanyutta Nikaya. Someone asked the Buddha, what is one of the ways that a person can increase their memory? And Buddha says being free from these 5 things increases a person's memory. So a person tend to forget things when these 5 things are there in their mind. And it makes sense, right? So for example, there's restlessness. So a person's mind, if their mind is running all the time, very active, nothing stays in, right? Because there's a lot of thoughts in there, a lot of chatter. But if the mind is quiet, and it's very energetic, but quiet, then a lot of things stay. It's easier to store memory, right, in our brain. So that's the 7th one. And then the 8th one, a person who is free from these hindrances, it's easy for them to develop tranquility or concentration. So when they meditate, straight away their mind goes into states of concentration that we call jhana, right? So there's 4 jhanas, namely 1, 2, 3, 4 and then there's 4 more afterwards, which we call arupa jhana. So the first 4, rupa avachara jhana. Rupa means there's a form. In the arupa avachara there's no form. There's 4 more after that, but Buddha says in this sutta he's only talking about the first 4. And a person who has those 5 hindrances, they can't achieve these states of mind. A person has to be free from those 5 hindrances in order to achieve these states of the mind, the jhanas. And a person who achieves these jhanas, Buddha says this is the 8th benefit that they get. That is that they can develop these states of the mind. And these states of the mind can only be achieved through meditation. And again, they have to be free from those 5 hindrances. And then the next one is interesting. He says, when a person has these jhanas or these states of the mind, then they have insight knowledge about, or in other words, they understand how their body and the mind works. They notice the changes that are happening. They notice the impermanent nature of the body and the mind, and that there's no soul here, there's no self, there's no person per se here. And they see these things because they have developed that mind. So the jhanas, we call it samatha bhavana, and then mindfulness or vipassana or insight meditation is the other part, where we are practicing mindfulness and we observe the nature of things. And generally in this practice there's 3 different ways to practice it. First way is to practice the samatha first and then practice the vipassana or insight meditation. The second way is to practice them together, side by side. The other one is to practice vipassana first and then to practice the samatha afterwards. But regardless of how we practice, I think there is a mention about practicing vipassana only as well, but practically speaking, I don't know how practical that is. But nevertheless, it's there. And then, so that's the next benefit Buddha says, that they begin to understand the true nature of this body and the mind. And then a person, as they practice this, or as they gets deeper and deeper into their practice, noticing the nature of the body and the mind, and also practicing the samatha practice, this person then develops supernatural abilities. Buddha says this is also another benefit. But it's not something that Buddha has encouraged people to do. A person can achieve them, might get them, not everyone will get them, but it's not something that generally Buddha has encouraged or teachers have encouraged us to practice. That is, you can develop your hearing to hear things that are far away, see things that are far away, some things that are finer that you normally wouldn't see, to read other people's minds, to develop another body out of this body, etc. So these are some of the supernatural abilities that a person might get in this path, and also to see where a person is born after they die, how the karma has impacted them, those kind of things. And that's another benefit that a person will get, as a monastic might get in this living a monastic life. And then the last one, Buddha says, so when a person develops these things or follows these steps, not only do they get these benefits, but they also become enlightened. And this is the last benefit that Buddha mentions, because once a person is enlightened, there's nothing more, right? I remember in one of the programs I mentioned this word that we say to enlightened people, that means katankaraniya, means there's nothing left for them to do, meaning they've done everything that they have to do in their life. There's nothing left for them to do. And so Buddha says this is the last benefit that a person will get in this living a monastic life, and it's a benefit that you will get in this life itself, right? So enlightenment is not something that happens in the future, it's something that happens in this life itself. If a person practices mindfulness and practices according to the things that are mentioned here in this sutra, Buddha says they will be enlightened. And so that's the last one, right? And having heard these benefits, the king was very satisfied, and then the king then admits to the Buddha that he had killed his father before seeing the Buddha, and that he has a lot of regret. And in the commentaries, I think it says that the king wasn't able to sleep prior to this night, and that's why he wanted to see philosophers, right? Remember in the beginning he asked, it's a full moon night, and he asked his ministers, who should I go and meet today? And the ministers mentioned all these philosophers' names, but he had already gone to see them and have spoken with them. And the reason for that is because he couldn't sleep before this, because he had that regret in his mind and the guilt in his mind. So it says after this night, after talking with the Buddha, he was able to actually sleep after this. And Buddha also says that had the king not killed his father, after listening to this talk, the king would have become a stream enterer. So he had the ability to, or the wisdom, he was born with the wisdom to be enlightened. However, because of wrong associations, or because he did stuff that he shouldn't have done, he was not able to be enlightened. Even though he heard the Dhamma, he met the Buddha, he wasn't able to be enlightened because of the things that he had done. But having said that, Buddha says in the future, someday, he will become a Pacceka Buddha. So in this sutra, right, so if you remember, we talked about those qualities, 6 qualities of the Dhamma, Swakata, and then there was one quality called Sandittika, right? Sandittika means you get results in this life itself. So this sutra discusses mainly about the Sandittika, or the qualities, the results that you get in this life itself, right? So it's talking about that particular quality of the Dhamma. And Buddha explains in detail the path for a person from their lay life, and or regardless of who they are, what happens in this path, how they practice it, and what they need to do in order to be enlightened, right? So those are the benefits of a monk life, or having a monastic life. And I think it's a question that is fair, right? Especially in a country like this, I'm sure your friends, or maybe you yourself, have thought about, why do we need religions, or why do we need monks these days, right? Science is so advanced and things like that. But Buddha says that monastic life, it not only benefits the society, there's a lot of benefits for that person itself as well, right? And those benefits that we talked about here are benefits that individual gets, right? In addition to these things, obviously the society also benefits from the monastics. So it works both ways, right? Not just for that person, but also for the community itself as well. So that's the sutra, and it ends there. But there are other instances where the king meets the Buddha and they discuss a little bit more as well. So we have about 15 minutes left. If you have any questions or want to add anything, maybe Swaminathan wants to say something.
I can say something related to this morality, and Venerable Sankata said, when someone practice morality, we that one get protection. We are protected by Dhamma. So one might think that we can have physical protection, kind of we will not get blamed or nobody will criticize us. So is that the way we get the protection from morality? How do you think?
Maybe like a mental protection, like I don't know.
Yeah, kind of like, let's say someone make a criticism on you that you have spread misinformation about him, then you can see the reaction comes within you that if you have really done it, how you feel, and if you haven't done it, then how you feel. So this is the difference, that the protection you get, and maybe even social level you might be able to prove that, and that's also a kind of protection that comes from outside. But even within you are being confident, the first of all, and then you can convince or not that you know you are free. Yeah, so that kind of protection, but maybe both within and without the protection comes. Yeah.
If you remember that Theragatha, right? Napare vachana choro, napare vachana muni. A person doesn't become a saint because other people say. A person doesn't become a thief because other people say. Right? Only you know who you are. Right? And when you know who you are, you don't have any guilt or anything. So that's what happens when you practice. You open up and you become an honest person. You understand who you are. You accept your faults. Right? Because and that's how you become a good person. Not by, you can try to stop doing bad things, but if something has become a habit, then it's very hard to, or very difficult to stop that habit, right? So in those cases we say we have to accept it first, and then we practice mindfulness to understand how our mind works, and by that, as a consequence of that, then that habit naturally just goes away. We stop giving it a value. Our mind naturally stops giving it a value. I use that word viraga, right? Not attaching to things. Our mind naturally stops attaching or giving value to these things. That's what that means, and that's what happens when you practice mindfulness. Anything else?
I think, I would like to add one thing, just highlight that Venerable Sankata said that someone get confidence, like accepting one's mistake. That confidence, where it comes from actually, if someone doesn't have heard that, many people, they commit mistakes or they have habit, then they act out of habit, but they don't have confidence to accept. So there's a kind of confidence that we need to accept our mistakes. So the best thing when understand mindfulness and understand this practice is that we get the confidence to accept. It's not something harm us by accepting our mistakes. So when we understand that, we become very confident about accepting our mistakes. So this is a kind of confidence that is not by just maybe not completely change the habit, but is changing attitude. We no need to completely change everything, but once we change our attitude, then we get the confidence. So this type of confidence, I think, many people don't have, but someone who understands Dhamma, they get a kind of confidence that even though they still have these habits or mistakes, they are confident enough to accept it. That is very important, I think.
Anything else anyone want to add? If not, we can stop and we'll start a new sutta next time. Would you rather have longer ones or like shorter ones that you can finish on one day? What's the preference?
Nah, I'm happy with either. It was like every week I was like, oh, like I want to know what happens next, but that's like not an issue. But yeah, I enjoyed having a longer one that continued. I think the only thing I struggled is sometimes I forgot when it came to the next one, but then the recap helped.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm happy either way.
I'll discuss with Sunandananda Swaminasa as well, and then we'll decide on a sutta for next one.
The next month, not
Oh.
sure when we will be able to
Yeah.
watch this.